Hey, welcome to the Law Firm Growth Acceleration Talk Show. In this episode, I sat down with Bob Simon and we show you how to create an inbox money system. And that is basically where you create a law firm that just sends you money to your inbox. So Bob walked you through the entire system and shows you exactly how to do it so you can do it too. Stick around and check it out. It was a good one.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Law Firm Growth Acceleration Talk Show. I am joined today with Bob Simon, and today we are going to be talking about something that is, I know, near and dear to Bob's heart, but it's something that I think a lot of lawyers are really interested in, and they just haven't exactly been able to figure out. And that is something that Bob calls the inbox money method. And the inbox money method, I'm going to let Bob explain in a few minutes here, but essentially what it is, it's making money in your inbox while you sleep, right? So give me some ones in the chat if you would love to have money showing up without you really doing much work for it. That's kind of the goal with owning your own business, money while you sleep, right? So we're going to jump into that, and we have a ton of content. I have a ton of stuff I want to talk to Bob about, including how he gets that amazing beard every time I see him. It's always looking fresh. But before we do that, I want to give everybody a really special gift just for hanging out with us today. And I know Bob has something he's going to give away a little bit later as well. But we've had a bunch of people that are kind of coming to us, and they're like, we want to grow, but we got these big attorneys in our market that we're having a hard time competing with. So we're trying to figure out how can we help people. And what we decided is that we want to give away a free competitor blueprint. So type 2 in the chat right now if you'd be really interested in having a blueprint of exactly what your top 3 competitors are doing, and then us basically just telling you what to do so that you can beat them. Type 2 in the chat if that's something you'd really be interested in. Okay, cool. Well, if that's the case, then we're going to give you exactly that. We're going to give you a competitor blueprint that shows you exactly what to do so that you can beat your competitor. So check this out. This is an example of one we recently did. This is for Western Law Corporation. I'm not sure who they are, but I think they were on one of these events. And as you can see, we actually give a market power ranking where we look at their firm plus their 3 biggest competitors. We're going to look at them on a lot of different things, from their map pack rankings to their reviews to their to their content to their domain authority. And we're actually going to give you actions of success for what you can do to beat your biggest competitors and how you stack up, right? And then we're also going to look at your technical SEO. We're going to look at your paid marketing, so your ads and all that type of stuff, and figure out, what are your competitors doing in their ads, and how can you beat them? So we're going to give that to you completely free just for hanging out with us today. So all you have to do is Chase is going to drop a link in the chat. Just go click the link, enter your information, answer a few questions, and then we will go ahead and we will take care of that competitor audit and show you exactly how to beat your competitors. So that's what I got for you right now. But next, I want to go over and I want to talk to Bob here, because Bob, it's kind of funny. Bob, every time I talk to somebody and I mention Bob Simon, they're always like, "Oh yeah, I just talked to Bob. I was just having, he just sent me a bottle of whiskey, or I just bet on the Buffalo Bills game against Bob Simon." Like, how do you know everybody? That's what I don't understand. Like, talk about networking, because networking is like is a huge part of your thing. But like, what does the average person need to know about networking, and what have you figured out so well?
I mean, I think you have to be a good human first, but I mean, networking, I think, is critical to everything that we do. I think everybody on this call has your trusted community, your trusted group of folks you like to work with, or you trust your referrals with, or you co-try cases with, right? So I'm big into finding those partnerships, those things on scale.
Yeah.
If anybody knows me, like, I'm constantly on my phone. My sister always makes fun of me because I'm like swiping all the time. My fingers are always moving. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm talking to people," right? But I like to do things in groups. So like, we have chat groups with a lot of the communities that I'm in, right? So these are just the different intent. When I go to conferences, I do it with a specific thing in mind of what I'm going to do. I usually try to get the guest list or kind of know some people that are going, and go with intent. Here's the people that I want to be able to meet. Here's how we can probably help each other, right? And then, is this a person I actually like that I want to keep within my network? And that's kind of like, I'm big on community. We have a community app called Justice HQ where people can just log in, and I don't think I even told you this yet, Andy, but starting this summer, we're going to let, like, subscriptions for a very low amount for people to see everything going on in the legal industry. So for instance, you can go on there as SMB and put all your workshops, all your classes. People can see it. They can subscribe. You can be as inclusive or exclusive as you want, but it'll be open to all lawyers, all law staff, all all communities. So it's like
Yeah.
I've always been so frustrated that bar orgs, they just have their one thing for their one stuff, and that's even hard to find. So we're just going to put it all in one place, from podcasts, from talk shows to um, we're already doing it now, but it's all just within Justice HQ, where we're going to open it up to everybody. So I'm excited just to have everybody on that note, network effect, like
Yeah,
having
yeah.
SMB
You know,
community. Yeah.
you know what I just realized? I just realized, like this just occurred to me while you're talking. You're a connector.
Yeah.
That's why people are so drawn to you is because you're a connector. And I never even actually thought about that until just now. But when you think about it, like, you're connecting people through your podcast. And what's your podcast called, just so everybody knows?
Bourbon of Proof.
Bourbon of Proof. It's one of the I know it's one of the top legal podcasts out there. You got Lardy Gras, which is bringing, you're bringing a ton of people through the industry together. You got Justice HQ, where I think that really what's kind of helping you out is the fact that you're always kind of looking for that. How can I help other people
Mhm.
get things that they're looking for? And it kind of goes back to that Zig Ziglar quote that I try to live my life by, which is I can have everything in life that I want if I just help enough people get what they want,
Yeah.
and it really does work out. So, how does that translate into referrals? And talk to me about the inbox money method, because that's really the big thing that I think a lot of people want to hear about today is what is the inbox money method? Where did it come from? How does it
Yeah.
work? Like, let's just kind of brain dump on us. What is this whole thing?
All right. So when I started my firm, I had no money, like 2010. Now we have like 30 lawyers, and I was all referral based. I didn't have the money to compete in ad spend or even acquiring leads or
Thank
whatever
you,
people were
buddy.
doing. I just couldn't do that. So
I
instead, what I did
I
was,
need your buddy.
somebody is there. Instead, what I did was I would just hit pound the pavement, go talk to chiropractors, orthopedic doctors, try to drum up business because I do personal injury cases. Then I started getting referrals from other lawyers, and we're able to fee share. You ethically put in your client book, people sign off, and so people would refer me the cases for litigation or trial. We do good work. We're usually splitting up the fee. And at some point, I had referred a case to like a friend of mine in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh. And then like 6 months later, I just got a check in the mail for 150K. And I was like, whoa, I totally forgot about this. Like I just sent it to him because this person needed help and I sent it to him. He's like, what's a referral? I was like, oh, 25%, whatever, it's cool. Send me a check. Um, so it got me thinking. I was like, well, wouldn't it be a lot faster and easier if we can automate finding the best person for your client if it's not you, and help those lawyers? And look, everybody on here probably, if you went to law school, there's that one case that says that your goodwill of your business has value because you put so much time and energy out to it, right? You're helping so many people. So when those consumers call you, that's your goodwill. So I never want to be in a position where we say no to somebody that needs help because we know there's probably a lawyer out there that can help them. And that's your goodwill to ask for a referral or co-counsel fee. Like different states have different rules. So we started this project within our Justice HQ community where we had a private marketplace where we were auto pushing cases from the case management systems. We were tracking the fee share agreements, and it was like that. And then we said, well, let's just open this up to everybody to allow them to either bring their community. We have like a community exclusive first look, so you can have your private marketplace. But imagine a place where you can have automations where we even can plug into your intake now. You can have the intelligence. If it meets your firm criteria, it goes into your CRM or to your firm and your intake grabs it. If not, you can immediately send it out to monetize that referral fee or co-counsel fee. And you get to choose it. You choose your own venture. You could work with the people you like to work with. That's why I'm very big on what Andy said. Like, if SMB, if somebody else was part of this group, that they probably know what they're doing. They're getting coaching, they're held accountability through everything that is going on here. So that law firms that are part of your organization are doing a good job. So it's kind of me, like if I refer to somebody that has an SMB badge or tag, I know they're going to do good quality work for our folks because it's all practice areas. Like I only do personal injury. If I get a medical malpractice case or a probate case or like a consumer fraud case, I need to help that person by finding the home for it. And I'll show you, that's what we essentially call inbox money, because you set up automations that if somebody calls your intake, it'll automatically reroute for you to where it needs to go and it will be tracked.
And just so everybody knows what Bob's talking about, he actually created a software that does all of this for you called Attorney Share, which is really, really cool. And I think you have, I think everybody gets something free on the software. What's the offer that you're going to give everybody for just showing up? And then what I want to do is I want to back up and I want to talk about how do we actually generate the leads first so that you can then refer them out, right?
Oh,
Because
I love that.
that's a
Yeah.
big question that everybody has.
I like somebody put the choose your own adventure books. I love that because I used to read them all the time. I don't know if everybody
Yeah.
read those books, but it'd be like, if you choose this, go to page 39. Well, monkeys just hit you with a stick and ate your brain. You died. End of book. Right? If it's choose your own adventure book, but whatever. So attorneyshare.com, everybody can go and get a free book, or sorry, a free sign-in for Attorney Share. So Attorney Share, what we build as a platform, and because I'm a lawyer and I'm on both sides of what we call this marketplace. I want to build something that was efficient, that was very pro lawyer and very low cost because technology gets less and less expensive. So it's free to join. It's free to browse all of the cases. It is free to put bids on cases to see if you want to work with people. It's free to put in cases. It's a platform we only charge if people sign a case. So like lawyer sends a case to lawyer A to lawyer B. You say, all right, let's work together. You essentially vet it. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't cost you anything. So I try to create that system where people are so tired, like I couldn't do in 2010 to pay for leads or these other things, to create an efficient system where the lawyers are the ones that are owning the goodwill on both sides of the equation. Um, and I'll talk to you about how easy that is now because we can plug into people's intake and automate that. But if you don't get the cases, you're not going to be able to help anybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody here knows, like, unless you're able to generate income, you can't help more people. People got to know what you do. And
Mhm.
like, I'll show you how I use my cell phone to generate millions of dollars a year on referral fees or co-counsel fees, inbox money, and also for my firm. Perfect example is when the Southern California fires hit a few months ago. Close to my home, a lot of friends and family's houses burned down. And I just started creating more content just on Instagram about what people should do, how you should do things, and just all educational. And what ended up happening is people reached out to me to see if I could help represent them. And I was very upfront with them. I said, hey, I'm a great storyteller. I'm a trial lawyer. I do not do fire utility cases. I know the best that do. So we just set up an automation through my firm. It took us 10 seconds to route when gave people a link. We didn't have our AI voice intake at that time, but if we did, it'd be even easier because I we built our AI voice intake, and there's a lot of vendors out there that do, and it's great. Is we just gave them a link to fill out. That link automatically form fill, went into Attorney Share to the lawyers that specialize in the fire cases that I knew, had my set fee percentage, fee share agreement got signed, and I think I signed over 100 families through that workflow.
Wow. Yeah.
And I mean, these are all going to be 7, 8 figure losses because people.
And all you did was basically go on Instagram and provide helpful content that actually helped people. And what percentage of the people that contacted you were people that you knew, and what percentage were people that just found you organically?
I it was probably 95% didn't know me. They saw somebody forward me their post, or they saw the post and I was, helping people.
Yeah.
And it was all organic just through social media. And you could see if you go, and I put my tag here, Planet Fun Bob. Yeah, it's because that's a weird name, but I started putting content because I was so pissed off against Uber and the sex abuse cases because I have a bunch of those. So I was just
Mhm.
educating people on Uber cases.
Yeah.
Last week, I mean, I personally signed probably a dozen just from Instagram posts, but I referred out half a dozen,
Wow.
all with automation because they were in different states and it was with different laws. So I was like, one was actually in Tallahassee, and it was a Lyft driver that did something very inappropriate. Let's just say that. And within, I think, 10 minutes, I was able to auto post that case. Someone raised their hand that was also in my network. I said, yes, let's do this. They had their intaker reach out to that person and they signed that person, and it was within 10 minutes. Now, this never existed before, right? We had to rely on all these other people we thought were good at intake and call centers. Everybody here now could be your own call center with like these automations. And it's not expensive anymore. It's not. So
Yeah.
it finally lets people that are good at marketing themselves and branding themselves. That's where the key is. If they're searching, I mean, like personal injury Los Angeles, you know how much people are paying to be at the top of Google, right?
A lot.
But if they're going to look for Robert Simon, guess what? That's going to convert.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So what is your workflow then? Because I think a lot of people want to create content that gets them clients on social media. But what is your actual workflow? Because and I've actually got a really cool research thing that I want to share with you also that I don't think you've ever seen. But like, what do you do from start to finish? So you have this idea, like, okay, well, maybe not an idea, but something happens, like the fires are happening, right? So what is your workflow? Are you creating like 50 videos a day? Are you just doing videos as they come to your brain? Like, what are you doing there?
So I try to do at least one reel a day, and some I have pre-ready to go. I mean, I have, I have a team that does some of those things. You can tell on my page which ones I just do with my cell phone and
Mhm.
which ones my team do in advance. So I have all this stuff ready to go because I know the timing of certain things. But like with fire cases, I was all just selfie videos. My Uber stuff, selfie videos. And it's easy. I'll sit there, I'll just talk about it, I'll educate people on it. I'll usually I'll go create a good reel cover, so I just make sure it looks in good pops, right? And then I will just post it, and then
Mhm.
shit happens. And then sometimes I'll forward that post to a bunch of people that I know or that have a good network to push them out as well, and then things just roll.
Yeah.
Um, and that's it. And then what happens is once they reach out to me, they DM me. I just have the ability to send them a link or a phone number to our AI voice intake. They start to talk about their thing, and then the rest is all automated and tracked.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Like we set it up with Attorney Share with the API to plug into intake. It's like $300 a month, and you can do up to 1,000 auto posts for your intake. And that's one thing I want to tell you, Andy. For everybody here, we'll give 20% off for that. If people want to just auto post their inbox money referrals, like, but it's people were charging thousands and thousands of dollars before to try to do that a month. It's like, technology is just it's just different now, guys. It's just way
Hey,
different.
can you explain the workflows a little bit more? So like so is it basically, does this take the place of a call center, or what is this? How does this actually work for you?
It takes the place of a call center. So I could never compete in billboards or these things because you get so many calls about so many things and your intake is on the phone all the time and with cases you're going to say no to and you're wasting time.
Mhm.
So our customers are very, very comfortable and actually like talking to our AI voice agent. And I think I sent you mine a
Yeah,
while
you
ago.
sent me a demo of it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
just saying AI.
empathetic.
It just sounds like you're talking to somebody, but it's AI. It's crazy.
But you have to ethically, you have to disclose to the consumer that you're using AI. You have to disclose that they're being recorded. Like there's just certain, you put guardrails on it. It doesn't talk about, um, doesn't give legal advice. But what it does is automatically creating a transcript as the call is going on. And that
Mhm.
transcript plugs into what we're doing, and then it has intelligence on top of it. So there's a bunch of companies out there. And Andy, I don't know if you've worked with or partnering with any with the intake AI voice intake ones, but I see people asking questions about it. No, if people want to hear the demo, I could just give the number. You guys call it if you want. It's pretty funny. But I got to tell my team that these are fake calls coming in. So, but no, here's the big marketing thing that I'm going to be coming out with, and I think every lawyer should be doing this. What does every consumer out there wants to be able to access an attorney if they get in any issue as fast as they can, right? Many people don't know a lawyer. If they know one lawyer, they keep their business card in their pocket, right? And they ask them a question about everything. Now with what we're doing, I'm just going to have a Justice Team app. They let me trademark Justice Team, by the way, for my law firm. I don't know how that happened. Justice Team app, and then I'm going to put the phone number for our AI intake. It says if you need any legal issue, push this
Mhm.
button. And it's automatically, even if we can't help you, it's going to find a referral for you. So like people are just going to have an app and have the ability to find a lawyer on demand. And might be me, might be somebody else, but it's all going to be tracked. And then if they do become a client of mine, it'll have the functionality to give a client login so they get their case updates and all those other things. But like, man, I think that's the future.
Yeah, yeah, no, it certainly is. And I actually think that the other future is figuring out ways to monetize all of your leads rather than just the ones from the cases
Yes.
that you quote unquote take, right? I have this controversial opinion that all leads are qualified. They just might not be qualified for your specific law firm. Because like it's funny, like you have kids, right?
Yep.
So how old are your kids? Your kids are younger, right? They're a little younger.
Eight, one turns 5 on Sunday, and one turns 3 in August. So
Okay, so you've experienced probably then. You go to a restaurant and you ask you say, what do you want to eat? And they say, I want the macaroni and cheese and I want the hamburger and I want this and I want this and I want this. And you say, you're not going to eat all that. And they say, no, I'm going to eat all that. So then you order it and they take 2 bites and then what do they say? They say, oh, I'm full, right? And you
yeah.
say, no, we paid for this food. You're eating the food. Well, I kind of look at leads like that, right? Because like, especially when we have clients that are, spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month on Google ads and LSA ads and social media ads and things like that. And not only that, but like, they're paying us to do their marketing for them. And it's like, you paid for 100 leads. If you got 100 leads, you paid for 100 leads. It doesn't matter if 50 of them are qualified or not qualified. So how do we make the most out of all those leads, right? And that's actually something that our business partner Ethan Ostroff does really, really well. You know, Ethan.
So
Ethan,
Ethan's part of this process. Actually, I didn't even talk
yeah,
to. So Ethan, we use him, his team of VAs actually operate a lot of these. They do intake. Like I can see, I'm watching right now because I could see we have one guy that's our closer, that's one of Ethan's guys that'll go.
yeah,
If it's a hot lead that matches our firm because I can see it right now. He
yeah,
gets on the phone and closes it. So we have
yeah,
like
yeah.
7 coverage. If it meets their criteria, they go and grab it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
Ethan, for those who don't know, Ethan Ostroff is our business partner. He's a personal injury attorney. And he's also co-owner of Attorney Assistant, which is a company that SMB team co-owns with Ethan. And it's intake. We use virtual assistants for intake. And one of the things that I love that he does is when somebody calls to hire his law firm, he doesn't just try to qualify them for just a car accident case. He tries to qualify them for like 9 other cases as well. So he'll say like, have you ever used a CPAP machine? Have you taken certain medicine? Did you know anyone that has spent time at Camp Lejeune? And then like, so if it's a car accident, they'll be like, well, let me ask you this, like, thank God you weren't injured. Thank God this could have been a lot worse. But if you were injured or incapacitated or God forbid even killed, what do you have a plan for what would happen to your kids and your money and your house and your pets and everything? And they'll say no. He's like, well, you need an estate planning attorney, or you're injured. Unfortunately, we can't help you, but we can put you in touch with a social security disability attorney who can probably help you. So it's like, and what happens is when you do that, at the least, you pay for your marketing on these referrals. But two, now you're generating tons and tons of more revenue that you wouldn't even have realized. And it turns into inbox money because when you ask certain questions, and it's just as simple as adding different questions to your intake. And then once you have them, then you kick this case off here and you kick this case off here and you kick
yes.
this case off here. And that's where attorney share is cool because it ties the whole thing together.
Yeah, and so the qualifying of the cases, it's a skill, right? So if you don't have a person that knows every single mass tort, or if it's a probate lead to ask those questions, you don't know how to qualify something that could have gave you really good inbox money, whatever. So that's why I like training, like the intake that we use for our AI intake speaks every language, knows every practice area, and then with the plugin knows essentially where to put it, right? So imagine have the smartest lawyer on the planet that speaks every language, knows all of the practice areas, knows how to ask the questions. I think that's a future. I was asked, and I was on like we had a closed door meeting with Google and some other folks, and they asked me what's the most disruptive thing that's going to happen in the legal industry in 2025. And I said intake. I said intake. It's going to be automated because I knew some guys at Capture Now they were putting stuff together and some other groups, and I knew where they were, and I was like, this is going to happen real fast because these AI voices were getting faster and quicker, didn't sound robotic, and then they were getting integrated. And I was like, man, this is going to change just how people do stuff. Yeah, dude, it's wild. But I talked to Ethan today. I'm on a text chain because on Attorney Share, I had a workers' comp case, a really bad one. It was an explosion in Western PA, and somebody reached out to me on Facebook, and I said I got his information. So let me find the best workers' comp lawyer, and then it pushed into Attorney Share, and I just told it sent directly to Ethan. His
Mhm.
team grabbed it. He got his workers' comp lawyer there, and they visited him over the weekend, and now they're looks like they're signing him because they were on a text chain with him.
Yeah,
But again, that was revenue or that Ethan wouldn't have had before this, and
yeah.
it's revenue that I would not have had before this. And I know this person reached out to me, he's going to get the best representation.
Mhm.
This is something before I've been like, oh shit, let me go through my Rolodex. Let me try to find somebody there for you. Let me try to connect it. And then it's gone.
Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing is, like you said, there's two sides to it. One is you can refer cases. The second is you can get a lot of cases. I know that, and especially if and we have a lot of people that we work with that drive a lot of cases, like Dylan White. You know Dylan.
Oh, dude,
He's
talk to
got
Dylan every day.
Yeah, he's got the dad chats. He does dad chats on social media on TikTok and Instagram. He's got I don't know how 10 million followers or something. I mean, he's generating hundreds of leads a week. And he'll message me and he's like, I can't refer these leads. I can't refer these leads out fast enough. I don't have enough people, So it's like, and the cool thing is that he gets leads for everything, for family. I mean, you name it, people know he's a lawyer. And that's the other interesting thing is that a lot of times people know that you're a lawyer, but they don't really necessarily know the difference between someone who does family law and estate planning and intellectual property and criminal defense and all these things. So people will just come to you. Like, how many people come to you and ask you for legal advice on something that you know nothing about? like they see you're a lawyer, like, hey, Bob, can you help me with my immigration case? Like, and
Okay.
you can refer it out,
Yeah.
so all that type of stuff is like, it's a great opportunity to do that. So let's talk a little bit about how else can people generate leads? So Instagram is a great way to do it, but what are some of your other favorite ways that you can generate leads and then put them into the system so that you can then generate more inbox money?
Yeah, I mean, so you do a lot of cross marketing, but like using Dylan, for example, I've never met Dylan personally, but we text every day because he
Mm,
started using attorney share. And then he would be saying, he's like, hey, who's a good person to route these cases for? So what Dylan did recently is he saw my Uber sex abuse cases. He's like, what is this? I was like, well, they're actually in a multi-district litigation. There's thousands of these cases. Here's what's really going on. So he's like, educate me on what's happening. He's like, so I'll do social media posts. And if I get any, I'll automatically send them to you on attorney share. So he's the one that sent me a few last week. I mean, it's crazy. And all he did videos on TikTok to his folks. They reach out to him. He actually he talks to people. He likes to get a lot of information and then he just pushes it in and now it's all automated.
yeah,
But it's just like become an educator in a space. Sometimes you know that space very well, but there's nothing stopping you from saying like this is what's happening with these types of cases in Michigan with groundwater and just be interesting about it. People will reach out to you, and then if you have an easy flow for them to be able to find representation, that's easy. So I do believe social media is probably the easiest and free essentially to be able to do
yeah,
that. The other one you can do is with SEO, right? SEO, Google Ads, all these things you can use artificial intelligence to like write a bunch of SEO pages that rank very quickly, and it takes a while for Google, the algorithm, to catch up. I know some people that are doing that, and it's a disruptive space as well. I mean, people that are in the SEO space know that that's happening, right?
mm,
So that's one way to be able to do it. I also think just being in a community, like you know how you generate referrals, is people know what you do and
yeah,
they know about it. So if you go to your Instagram handles, right, or anybody's social media, it should say what you do, where you are, and how to contact you,
mm,
right? Like if you don't have those things, you're missing something, right? Or if you're private, you should have a public landing facing one, in my opinion. But
yeah,
yeah, I would love for people to have like ideally their AI intake voice phone number on there that handles everything. So hey, if you need help, click here. They click here, and guess what? Might be revenue for your firm, but it might be inbox money for somebody else, a friend of yours.
yeah,
All
yeah.
about it.
So, can I share with you a really cool way that I've taught lawyers how to basically, because a lot of times lawyers want to create videos, but they get a little discouraged because they don't get a lot of traction on the videos, and it takes a couple tries. But I figured out a way to actually have a pretty good idea if a video is going to go viral or not. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. I don't think I have. But what's really cool is that you can actually look, and by the way, give me some me's in the chat. Type me in the chat if you have filmed videos and it hasn't worked for you because it just didn't, whatever reason, and it kind of made you a little frustrated because it happened to me for a long time. But I want to share with you kind of how to actually, Bob said me, perfectly. Well, let me show you. Like, this is a really cool thing that I think a lot of people don't realize that the information's actually there. And even you might be able to use this because what's cool is that there's attorneys out there that they just go out and they just talk about stuff involving the law. Like, there's a very famous personal injury attorney who I'm not going to blow up his spot, but basically he creates content about anything that people care about. So he doesn't do family law, but he talks about here's what to do when your baby mama is giving you drama, and here's what to do when you get into a car accident. Here's what to do if you go through here's the three things that police are not allowed to do during a traffic stop that they do all the time. And what ends up happening is he's just getting eyeballs and he's just getting attention, right? So what's cool, let me share my screen real quick and I'll show you this strategy. It's really neat. You can use TikTok, and a lot of people don't like TikTok. I don't really, I try to stay off of it as much as possible because it's kind of like crack. Um, but you can't stop. But basically, what's cool is that TikTok will show you trending stuff. So, for example, let's say, like you said, wildfires, right? So you can type wildfires on TikTok, and you type it on the side here, and you can do this on the app as well. And then you click where it says videos. And then what's cool is you can see the top videos that are happening. So right now it's actually not. It'd probably be wildfires in LA, right? And you can click videos and you can see the top videos in here. So you can see like this one has 25,000 likes. So that means that something in this video people actually liked, right? And you can see this one right here, 2.2 million likes. So if you've ever seen those attorney reacts videos, what you can do is you can find these videos that already have millions and millions of likes, and you can basically, first of all, you can recreate them and just basically take the same topic and start them the same way that this person started, and there's a good chance that you're going to have those same results because of the fact that TikTok and these platforms, they're not necessarily as much about your followers anymore as it's more about the video itself. So you can have 0 followers and still have a video get a million views, right? And then the other thing you can do is you can take these videos and they're reaction videos. Have you ever seen those reaction videos where people will basically give reactions to videos. So you start that video, you get the attention, and then you can talk about it. You can be like, well, here's what you should do in this scenario if this happens to you. And it works really, really well. And it gives you a much better likelihood that you're actually going to have a video that's going to take off because, I like doing things where I actually have at least a hint that this has already been successful. I don't really want to reinvent the wheel. But if you do things like this, it works really, really well. And it takes a lot of the luck out of it because you're basically just kind of looking at the signals that are already there. And then you're just doing what TikTok shows you they already want. And it's cool because once you do that, it'll start giving you more suggestions and more suggestions and more suggestions. So that's a great way to go viral on social media that I think a lot of attorneys don't do, and they really should. Have you ever done anything like that?
Well, one thing you actually taught me this about a year ago is that you take a relevant news situation that's law worthy and you just
Yeah,
comment on it as the intro, and the algorithm picks it up a lot more. So, and I tested it right after you did one of your workshops and it worked.
it worked well. Good.
Yeah, it worked well. So like even during the P. Diddy trial, like we sponsored the Kings, I was doing funny ads with the Kings and I mentioned P. Diddy just strategically and it did very well, right? But you do like these little twists to be able to do those things. But the one thing that one of the meetings I had with Google is like, hey, is Google Law coming? Pretty much. I just want to know, like, or what's your headspace? It's not, first of all, but you know where their biggest concern is?
Hmm.
Losing search engine space
Hmm.
to TikTok, to
Mm-hmm.
AI, to chat
Yeah.
AI, chat GPT. And they are like people are searching the millennial generation or the Gen Z searching TikTok more than Google, and they're
Yeah.
using chat GPT a lot more. So but yeah, there's nothing stopping you from seeing what's hot, what's popular, recreating the video, just doing it with your own twist or even overlaying. I think it gives you the option to overlay like that video with the California wildfire and then see what happens. The reason I don't like TikTok though, it's harder to have like direct calls to action and things like that. It's just a
Yeah.
little bit harder. Instagram makes it so much easier for me. That's where my audience is. And for me, lawyers that in my generation things we do, most of us are on Instagram. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
Facebook's also really good too, but that just I'll put the same video on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and I'll get like sometimes hundreds of thousands or millions of views on Instagram and like 12 on TikTok and like 100 on Facebook.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever.
it's weird because you never know what's going to pop off on different algorithms too. So I just like posting it everywhere, and then the cards fall where they lay. I think the biggest thing is just activity, though. It's just
Yeah.
doing a lot of stuff.
And then
Um,
and then what
yeah.
I do with another thing what I do with Ethan Ostroff is I have one of his media assistants, and what they do is we have so with the podcast we do with all the content, all the interviews, they will then take those and bucket them and cut them up into shorts,
Hmm.
even if I did them a year ago,
Yeah.
and repost them everywhere and tag the guest or the whiskey that we had on. So you're constantly putting out content and just
Yeah.
all
Have
boom,
you
boom.
seen Opus.ai?
Yep.
So that's a really cool thing also. Basically, for everybody who doesn't know what Opus is, you can upload a video and like a longer form video, and it will actually chop up the video, add captions, add B-roll, and you end up with 25 different videos that you can use on shorts and reels and things like that from one piece of content, and it's all done by AI. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So
there's another one called Get Munch AI. I use that one. It's called Get, but it's the same thing as Opus. It's like we
okay,
you can put an hour, 2 hours worth of content, it just chops up, and then you can
yeah,
even push a button to send it directly to your Instagram, like if you wanted to. It's not
yeah.
perfect. You got to play with it a little bit, but man, it saves time.
Crazy. All right. So, what are some of your favorite ways outside of social media to generate leads? What are some of the ways that you generate leads so that you can feed the inbox money machine?
I mean, I get a lot of cases from other lawyers. So if I go to conferences and make connections, I get one, I get all.
Mm,
I like to be in a situation where if you give out your contact information to one individual, that it ends up going into the hands of hundreds, right?
yeah.
So, like yesterday, I did a talk to a bunch of folks in downtown LA that were underserved and they were just had questions about tenants' rights or things like this. You know what? Here's a phone number to call if you need anything. I don't do tenants' rights, but like if you have other issues, you never know.
Hmm.
That is high conversion. You know those people personally, you saw them, you shook their hand, you talked to them, you give them the phone number. They're gonna follow you on Instagram and listen to everything you say because they're probably the first lawyer that you ever met.
Yeah.
The other thing well, it's also social media, but I hyper target or geofence things. So you can actually take a post you did, turn into a digital ad, and it's not expensive at all.
Hmm.
You can what's called geofence, like a conference or a law school or a check cashing place
Yeah,
with
yeah.
your content so that they see you and there you go.
You know what we did a couple years ago that got do you remember this was like 2017, I think. There was two train crashes in New York City. Actually, one was in Long Island, and it was like I can't remember exactly what it was, but we had a client back then who was a personal injury attorney in New York, and he called me like frantic one morning, and he's like, "Oh, there's a big train crash. We got to figure out how do we help these people? How do we get in there, right?" So what I actually did, and so I was like, all right, film a video talking about how the train crash, like what caused the train crash and how it should have not happened. And the backstory was that basically it was mandated that they had to put these new brakes on the train. The brakes didn't have it was an auto braking system that before the train goes into a curve, it automatically slows the train down. Well, these trains didn't have it and they were supposed to. The train didn't slow down, crash occurred, right? So what I was able to do is I was able to drop a pin right at the crash location.
Oh,
And I ran that video to anyone that was in that location. And he got like I think he got like 4 or 5 cases from that particular train crash, right? And then
wow.
we did it again in New Orleans a couple years ago. Do you remember there was like a Hard Rock casino that was being built in New Orleans that collapsed? Well, we
Yep.
dropped the pin right on there, and I had my client in they were in Louisiana. I had them create like 1 or 2 videos talking about specifically about about the accident and what to do if you've been injured and what to do if you have a loved one who's been injured. So we geofenced the area and then we also geofenced the hospital that they would have taken everybody to. And they got, I think, 2 or 3 cases into
Well,
that.
yeah, so there's some stark laws about hospitals, so just be a little careful. But what happens is if they go into a 7-Eleven and you're geo targeting that and it touches their phone or they open their phone and they walk away and they go somewhere else, it's going to follow them with them, right? So just as long as they're in that point of contact over a certain time period or they're, dude, it's wild the stuff that you could do like that, but it's very intentional. Like
Yeah,
I don't do direct to consumer stuff, but I do digital ads towards groups, and it's not expensive. We don't spend a
yeah,
lot of money doing it, but the conversion rate is insane because again, they saw your content,
mhm,
not some generic lawyer. They saw you, so they're reaching out for you. And I think I see some stuff in the chat about 50% of Google search results get 0 clicks. I mean, consumers are getting smarter, man. They're looking for people that they see, recognize, feel familiar with, either from
yeah.
social media or seeing their face all the time, you know?
Yeah. So there's a couple other things I want to talk that I wanted to. So I had a couple of ideas. Actually, I didn't have a couple of ideas. I had an attorney give me a couple of ideas that are some of the best marketing ideas in terms of how to get a ton of leads that you can refer out. That I wanted to share because I think this is something that some people would really benefit from. So there's an attorney that I've known for a long time. His name's Kevin Hazlett, and he's given me some really good ideas. Like one of the things that he said he's done for probably 25 years now. Everywhere he goes, whenever he leaves anywhere, he always leaves 2 business cards. So if he goes to a car wash, he leaves 2 business cards. If he goes out to dinner, he signs a check, leaves 2 business cards. And he has said that just from leaving 2 business cards and making a habit of everywhere he goes leaving 2 business cards, he has gotten more referrals than he could ever count. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous because you never know who, and he does personal injury, criminal offense, social security, disability, right? Um, but you never know who you're talking to and who happens to need a lawyer, or more importantly, who they know that happens to need a lawyer at that particular moment. So he's like, just the law of averages. You just do that. You just get business cards. You just leave them everywhere you go, and they just turn into cases. They're kind of like it's like planting trees, right? And eventually they're going to hold on to the card and they're going to call you and they're going to need an attorney. So that's something that he's done all the time. Another thing that he did that was really cool, really really interesting idea. This is what he told me he did when he started out. And there's probably some firms on here that maybe don't have a ton of money and they don't want to do the social media thing. But what he did is he would go to local farmers markets on Saturday mornings, right? And he would rent a booth for like, I think he get $50, right? And he didn't put a sign up that said the law offices of Kevin Hazlett. He put up a sign that said, "Ask me your legal questions." Right? Or
Mhm.
I'm an attorney. Ask me any question, right? And people would just come up to him and ask him tons of questions, like, "Hey, I've got this dispute with my landlord," and blah blah blah. You're like, "Oh, you need to talk to this person here," and then my daughter-in-law won't let me see my grandkids. Okay, well, here's a family law attorney. You need to call this person, and he would generate 200 referrals in like one day for like $30 of the booth and just sitting there talking to people for a couple hours. Plus, he would get cases out of it because it's people that either had legal troubles, they got arrested, got into accidents, different things like that. So that's actually a really easy way for people that want to get some low-hanging fruit. Just do a ask an attorney, and people will trust me, people will come up to you and ask you questions, then you can refer them out. Do you have any other interesting ideas about how to get cases along those lines? I love small things like that are so stupid that they actually work.
Small stupid things. You see
Yeah.
this mug here? See this branded mug?
Yep.
You know who gave that to me?
Who gave it to you?
You did.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
So
Go ahead.
high-end swag that people
Yeah.
want that doesn't. You see, your logo's not anywhere on here,
Yeah.
but I know it came from you, so I think about it every day because I use this. This is my house mug. People,
We gave that to you for speaking at our event last year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like people like stuff that promotes them. I mean,
Yeah.
I wear other people's stuff too if it's high end, but like at the end of the day, they want something that promotes them, but you still remember who it is.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send out like whiskey bottles that are engraved or things like that, right? That's sticky, and I think things like that. If you're thinking about, I never do cheap swag. Like I'm wearing this is what I promote. I wear like my Justice Team stuff somewhere all the time, and people
Mhm.
see it and they know it, and they like, oh, Justice Team, right? Like, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then they remember because they see it all the time. But this is like a Legends High brand activewear one that I wear. Like I have these guys make them for me, so it's like they look good too, and I will give away sometimes. But don't.
Yeah.
I think you have to go and do creative stuff. Like for
Yeah.
Mardi Gras, like one of the best sponsorships, it's called the VIP, but it's PEE because people sponsored like the big. Um,
Uh, Porta
like
potties.
the big porta potties outside for the outdoor concerts, and
Oh,
it's
that's a great
hilarious.
idea.
It's great. Like somebody did it one year. It was Jay Vaughn, who's like a big trucking lawyer. He did something really funny or did trivia. So I forget what it was, but it was like everybody remembered him from that little
Yeah.
thing. But be
Yeah.
weird and different, like stand out. It's
Yeah. Well, that's our philosophy with swag too. So two things. Well, first of all, I think it's more expensive to give away crappy t-shirts than it is to give away the really high quality ones. I still okay, I'm 40, how old am I? I'm 41 years old. I still have one t-shirt that I have worn since high school because it's so comfortable and it's like my favorite shirt that I wear around the house. You know what I mean? Like people will I will keep a nice high quality t-shirt or hoodie or whatever for a long time. But if I get like one of those really crappy ones that feels like sandpaper, like it's going in the Goodwill pile tomorrow. And then the second thing I want to talk about, and then I want to go over to some questions. I know we had a lot of questions in the chat. Um, is the concept of the Yeti mug that you were holding. So my philosophy, and I read this in the book Giftology, if it has my logo on it and I give it to you, then it's promotion. If it has your logo on it or your initials or your name or something for you and I give it to you, now it's a gift, right? And like you said, you remember, like I didn't even remember that we gave that to you. You remembered that we gave it to you, and that's what's important, right? So that's really important, especially with like referral partners and things like that. I always try to figure out how can I give people a gift that is going to make them think of me. And the last story I'll tell is I had an attorney who referred me a ton of business a couple years ago, and him and his father are huge Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. So, and they've had season tickets since like '99, right? So we always give him a check for referral fee and everything, but I also sent him an autographed Tom Brady helmet from the year when the Bucks won the Super Bowl. It was like 2,500 bucks, and I mean to this guy, 2,500 bucks is he's got a private jet. I think I don't think he cares about 2,500 bucks, but the fact that I sent him a gift that was personal to him, that was super unique. Like he freaked out. Like that, I could have given him a check for $25,000 and it wouldn't have been as valuable as giving him that helmet, that autographed helmet that costs like 2,500 bucks, right? So that's something really important, especially when you're dealing with referral partners and things like that. You want to make sure that you're keeping them happy and that you're making them feel like you really appreciate them. And the best way to do that is through gifts and things like that. So, I want to answer some questions. I know there's a lot of questions in the chat. So Chase, if you want, in a minute here, can you kind of organize some of the questions and feed them to Bob? So while you're doing that, Chase, while you're getting the questions organized, I want to show you guys. Bob is actually going to be speaking next week at our Law Firm Growth Acceleration Boot Camp, which is going to be awesome. I'm really excited. And Bob's going to go even more in depth in his inbox money method. But we've got some other great speakers that I want to show you about real quick, and I want to give you an opportunity to grab a ticket if you guys had not yet gotten it. The tickets are free, but it's an amazing event. It's going to be June 3rd through 5th of next week, and we've got some great speakers. We got Phil Farley. He's going to be showing why most law firms lose cases before they start. We've got Sammy Ragab. He took his law firm from $300,000 to $7.2 million in 2 years, and he's going to show you exactly how he did it. Obviously, we got Bob, this guy right here. He's going to be showing how to build a law firm that pays him while he speaks or sleeps. This is Jeff Hampton. He's got millions of followers on YouTube, and it helped him build a multi-million-dollar firm. This is Byron Alfred. He's going to be speaking and sharing how he took his firm from 1.5 to $4.5 million in 12 months, which is like insane. This is Derek Martin. He's going to show how he built an intake team. Remember, we said intake is going to be the big thing. An intake team that generated him $6 million in just 12 months. And when he started with us, he was at like $700,000 a year. Now he's a client. Now he's at like $6 million a year, and so much more. We got some really, really cool stuff. So you definitely don't want to miss that. It's completely free. So Chase, if you can drop the link in the chat, that would be great. And then don't forget also to get your competitor analysis. Chase will drop the link in the chat for that as well. And that's where we're actually going to show you, what are you doing well in your marketing? What is your what do you need some improvement on? And then we're also going to show you your three biggest competitors, show you what they're doing well, and then how you can beat them. Right. And we'll also, one more thing, speaking of audits of intake, we'll actually do an audit of your intake. We'll actually secret shop your law firm for you. So, we'll pretend to be a client, and we'll give you a report of what was good, what was bad, and, some things that you can do to ultimately get more clients and, build out more referrals and build out your caseload and all that good stuff. So with that said, the links are in the chat for both the Law Firm Growth Acceleration Bootcamp, so you can get your ticket to that. And then also the link is in the chat to grab your competitor audit, your competitor blueprint. So Chase, what questions do we have? I know a lot of questions came in for Bob. We got about 11 minutes left, so I want to make sure that we get to the questions. So Chase, I'm going to let you moderate from here.
Awesome. So yeah, Jeffrey had asked a question, assuming you were talking about the wildfires. So assuming you didn't really know anything about fire insurance law before the fires, where did you get your knowledge information from to record the selfie videos that you did?
Yeah, so I didn't give specific information about, you don't want to give like straight like legal advice. They can't come up as a salesy thing. So I knew enough because I do enough insurance coverage law because it's tied to like personal injury, the stuff on the back end to generally know things, but I would just get educated. What I did is I had immediately on my podcast, I had an insurance expert, and she is the best. This is all she does. She knows all the coverage stuff. So I learned. I did a podcast. I interviewed her, learned exactly all the things to know and answer, what to do, and all of a sudden I can parrot that. A specialist in your network, so just learn from them. So I did a podcast with her. I did a podcast with a fire expert that does utility cases. Now I had enough information to essentially go out there and talk about it intelligently. Now, what I also did is I get all my podcasts and shows transcribed. You can turn them into blogs that also juice up your SEO score. But what I do is I send them directly. I created my own AI based off of me. I send all those transcripts, all my trial transcripts, depositions, the book that I wrote about disc injury cases, and all of my shows that I do into that LLM. So my AI chatbot also knows that information. Wild, I mean, it sounds crazy, but like I have my AI based off of me where I can ask it a question and it nails it. So I can go in there, and if I forget it, I can literally just chat to myself because it's in my database that's there, and it'll remember and tell me. And it knows that she was on the show, so it's pulling out that information. I don't know, man. I just do some weird shit in my off time, and that's what
It's actually, it's actually a great point about having a content and having an audience and things like that, is that if you want to learn about something, you can interview people, and like just pick their brain and ask them questions. That's another great reason to just create content on a regular basis, because you can continually learn new things from people that are way smarter than us, you know what I mean? Or just way more versed in different areas that we have no idea about.
And that's why I do the bourbon show too, because it's even funnier drinking whiskey the entire hour. But
Yeah.
you learn so much about that other individual and where their headspace is, and it just then you absorb it. Like I try to get guests on the show where I'm the dumbest person on set,
Mm.
but then you absorb that stuff, man, because it's interesting, you know.
Mhm.
Where did I create my AI chat? I did with personal AI. So I put it, I think if you go to bob.personal.ai, you could just chat on the public chat, my AI bot for free. And you could see how, but these things are becoming less expensive to build. So,
Custom
um,
GPT also.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that way you could do it this way, but mine has my voice and I'm doing something crazy. I'm going to show next week at Trial Lawyers University, but I turned myself by AI LLM that I built. I integrated with my AI avatar
Mm.
and it's going to be a hologram that people can talk to.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Chase, do we have what other questions do we have in the chat?
Yeah, someone who was asking, what about B2B? We work with primarily with other businesses, corporations. A lot of what works for B2C is difficult to duplicate in a B2B setting.
So I almost all of my marketing is B2B, right? So if your question is how are you marketing to other corporations to get business, I think it's even easier because like you go, if you give me an example of a corporation, I could probably tell you how I would market those folks, but it's usually educating them about something that they need. So a corporation always has general counsel. Why they call it general counsel? Because they generally don't know much of anything and they need help. They need specialized counsel. So if you get into educating that general counsel on issues, that could be one way to do it. And then you get buckets of cases.
I also always tell people, AI doesn't run businesses yet. People still run businesses. So even though it's technically B2B, you are still communicating with people, right? And ultimately, what I think about is I think, okay, who are the businesses that I'm going to solve and what are the biggest problems that they're dealing with? And how can I just help them solve those problems? And ultimately, if you do that enough times over a long enough period of time, then you're going to get really good results. It's really hard not to, is what I've found.
Yeah, and I see this question here. If you don't have a large budget, what is the first step a firm should do to take making content and using AI for intake? So your cell phone's free, you can create content, and the way that you could do it now is you can manually do that intake, decide where it goes. I mean, attorney share is free. If it doesn't fit your criteria, you can manually do those things. But a lot of these, like a few of the ones that I put in there, their setup fee is like 150 bucks and it's like 200 bucks a month. And they will take all of your calls and it's like 35 cents a minute on the qualified cases. This was never reality before. I mean, ask Andy, when you had these call centers, it was a much bigger fee. It was much more per minute. You had much more delay. So that's becoming a lot more competitive. So even if you're just testing it with that, right? You at worst, if you get 5 calls a month, you're paying the 150 or 200 bucks a month plus for in like, I don't know, $2 on top of that, right? But if you get one case conversion from that one, you've made your money. So I think if you just start creating content, have a call to action for your folks, it's worth a try, right? Because then if it works, if your social media works and posts start going off, then you can start running ads on them, and then it just goes, it grows, it grows, it grows. But you've already set the foundation. But you still also need somewhere for this stuff to go if it goes into your firm. Like what's your backbone? You have to have some sort of CRM or some place for every single lead that those people go, because that ends up being another cross-marketing opportunity later, which is a whole nother discussion. But I call it get your house in order. You should have some sort of CRM, case management system or something where the things go.
Yeah, it's funny because I always tell people you can either pay with you can pay for your marketing either with your time or your money, right? And you use the one that you have more of at the time, right? So when you're just starting out, if you don't have a big budget, it doesn't cost you anything to pull out your phone and record 3 or 4 videos just talking about stuff that you know about anyway, and then just post them. And some of them are not going to get seen, but one of those videos or two of those videos is going to blow up and it's going to bring you in 3 or 4 cases. And you do that enough times over enough period of time, then it's going to work out really well. Now, like you said, the second part is you just have to have some sort of capture mechanism. And that can be starting with something like, either attorney share where you have the AI, or you can use something like attorney assistant where we have actual virtual assistants that will actually handle your intake for you. And with attorney assistant, we work with firms that are, solos all the way up to, some really, really big PI firms that have billboards all across the country that you would know their names, and I'm not going to say who they are, and everything in between. So it just comes down to basically, it's like if you have more money than time, then invest a little money. If you have more time than money, then you just have to use your time until that flips. And if you continue to do that, I promise you it will flip, because you have to remember most people won't. So your best advantage is human nature and knowing that 99% of your competitors will never do this stuff. So if you're just willing to do a little bit of things that your competitors aren't willing to do, you're going to beat them every time.
Yeah, I'm interested in questions here. Man, I love this stuff. We can talk about it forever. Somebody asked about what cover pages do you use for your reels? If you go like, I'm very, very big on this because if I see somebody new and I look through their content, I'm gonna want to get something sticky first. So I always pin the ones that did the best. So like one, I try to title cut quickly what it is, and the ones like I did like one that has like almost 2 million views. It just says delete the Uber app.
Mm.
And that one, I mean, it got engagement just because of that. And then it gets reshared and shared. And then one that did well is this cross-examination, round part two. But I'm very big on when you see that real coverage, should explain to you something of what that post is about and to grab your attention. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I think that works. The other question here is, what CRM do you use? I have Clio Grow, but they all work. So they sync with all of these things. You just have to make sure whatever intake system you're using, it goes directly into there. And also to Andy's point, I still have our closers through Attorney Assist that are my intake. So if we get that AI intake case and it fits our criteria, they're on it. They're on the phone. So you need that. And again, that's a critical piece. I think you can run an entire huge pre-litigation firm or any firm. If it was you had one badass closer like we use with their company. You have your AI intake, and then you have some automations around there to automate the process. I mean, I know people that just do those things and they just do mostly referral fees and they work on maybe 5 cases a year and they're crushing it. They're crushing it on quality of life and monetarily. Yeah, I would say if I had to go, I have like 100 employees now at my firm, but if I had to do it all over again, that's the way. That's the way.
Fantastic. All right, Chase, we got time for probably one more. We got 2 minutes left here. What's our
Yeah,
last question?
there was one more question about titles for videos. How do you choose the right title? And if you mention something like P. Diddy, do you have to put that in the video title, or does it just talk about it in the video itself?
So what I do is do a separate what I call reel cover. So if you post on any platform, it'll say, select your cover or add from camera roll. What I'll do is I'll just create my own cover. So I'll screenshot usually the picture I want to use and then put some other logos or then write on it, delete the Uber app or a picture of P. Diddy with like baby oil, like whatever you want to do that would be catchy. And then someone also asked like the AI intake callers. So we build our own because I'm crazy and I have a tech stack team, but it's built on the same technology and base level that like Capture now does. So these ones all integrate with the case management systems and they have the API keys to go through attorney share. Capture now, and these guys also give big discounts off all these stuff. Capture now, Lawyer Line, that's powered by lawyer.com, Navigate, Legal Navigator AI, and Whippy AI are the 4 best that I vetted because we're playing with these companies come to us because they want to be able to plug in. So far, they're the 4 best, but if you're on Instagram, you're probably getting targeted right now on Facebook on AI voice. So watch how many companies start popping up that say that they do it. But yeah.
Especially now that we're talking about it. Facebook's going to hear. Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Bob, thank you so much for this. This has been awesome and really appreciate you opening up the hood and kind of sharing everything with everybody.
Yep.
And I am really looking forward to your presentation next week where you're going to go a little bit more deeper in the inbox money method. So everybody that wants to see more of Bob, definitely grab a ticket to the Law Firm Growth Acceleration Bootcamp, which we'll drop the link in the chat one more time so you can get your ticket for that. It's completely free. If you want to upgrade to VIP, which I highly recommend, you'll get an extra 3 hours of coaching with myself and with my partner, Bill Hauser, and you use a bunch of other really cool stuff that you get on VIP. And then again, if you want that competitor blueprint where we're actually going to look at your marketing, tell you what you're doing well, what you could maybe use a little work on, and then what your competitors are doing, and specifically what you need to do to beat them, then fill out the link that's going to be in the chat. We will get you a competitor blueprint completely free, show you exactly how to beat your biggest competitors in your market. So, Bob, any closing words for us before we wrap up?
Bet on yourself and then make it easy.
Perfect. I think that's great. A great message to wrap us up with. So, guys, thank you so much, Bob. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk to everybody soon.